The Asics Novablast 5, the successor to a very prestigious style of shoe released by Asics. And at this time, we're wondering if the new additions to the shoe make it the better of the Novablast family, or potentially the worst shoe I've ever worn. Let's talk about it. So before we get into the video, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel if you're already subscribed to the content. Thanks so much, love you guys a lot. Make sure you follow me on Instagram and Strava for all sorts of other running updates and things like that as we pursue the sub 3-hour marathon journey this year. So without further ado, let's begin. I'm going to throw the specs up here and we're going to go over them because this is going to be my first impressions of the second Novablast shoe that I will be running in of all time, right? We've talked about this before with the Novablast 4, how I guess the pre-existing shoes that came out in like 2022, 23, they had a lot of wow factor to the running community, right? We're talking big foam stacks. I guess we would consider this shoe like the Max foam style family, where it's a lot of cushion. The support is kind of iffy because there's such a high stack of things, but ultimately running in the shoe is designed to keep you constantly running with less pain, less soreness after your workouts. It's just designed to be a giant pillow while you run in it, right? The idea here now, as we've seen with the Novablast family, is let's take this high stack cushion shoe and put some speed to it, put some more endurance aspects to the shoe that could make it a little bit faster than your recovery daily shoe. And that's where we get to the Novablast 5 in this timeline of shoe specs, right? So we'll just go over the main stuff across the board. We do have a 41.5 millimeter heel, 33.5 in the forefoot according to the website. I think if we round it accordingly and after use, it'll still be about an 8 millimeter offset across the shoe, but it's going to be about 41 and 33. So we'll have to make sure those are the exact specs versus what's factory. But again, very similar to the Novablast 4 in terms of this layout. From a weight perspective, I believe this one's being listed as slightly less. I think I had this one weighing at about 9 grams on average. So, well, not 9 grams, sorry. It was about 9 ounces, which is like 250 something grams. I have the number written here somewhere. But from what I'm understanding, the shoe weighs just slightly less than the Novablast 4, which kind of doesn't make sense yet. I guess there's some things we'll factor in here that could make that the case. Just by looking at the shoe, there's some extra moving parts, but we also have a new foam stack, which is something to consider here, right? So before we go into some of those specs, I'll just give you guys a quick peek at what we've got on the outsole in terms of wear from my first 10K run in the shoe, and then we'll get over into analyzing it real quick. There isn't much to say in terms of wear, but we'll get into the interesting points there. So again, those are the general specs. Starting from the outsole and moving to the upper of the shoe, this is where I had some original confusion about the shoe. My impression was that we were going to be dealing with a Gore-Tex rubber on the shoe, and I was ready to call it a trail running, road racing, or road running shoe because Gore-Tex is typically a heavier type of rubber with more of a grippy kind of purpose. But I guess what's on the shoe now is like this Ahar low style rubber that Asics is kind of working with. It's like Ahar, you know, A-H-A-R, like a pirate, right? Ahar. So that's what's being placed as the protection for the FF Blast Max foam that's running the entire duration of the shoe. No carbon plates at all. This is a max stack, max comfort style shoe in this kind of concept. So again, we have Ahar rubber, FF Max, FF Blast Max foam, and that's basically the technology we're using to protect your feet from the outer elements. In terms of performance with just those materials, we'll get into it as we tie it in with the upper, because there's some interesting things going with the upper that kind of play a role in how I feel about its performance. So again, we have its typical mesh upper that Asics was using for the Novablast 4 and some of its other shoes, just this run-of-the-mill textile slash mesh that it's got going on. It runs a little bit thick at the time being, which is okay. It's just when I run indoors and I finish my runs, maybe this is just because of the color of the shoe. I do see the sweat prints of the shoe that just kind of there. Is it a big deal? I don't know yet. Maybe when I run in cooler weather, this will be something more to consider. as to what sweaty feet will do to the shoe. Fine, no big deal. In the shoelace area of the shoe, we got a couple of interesting things which kind of puzzle my brain here, right? We've got this pull tag, which is running from the gusseted tongue, and I believe it's attached. It looks like it's attached to the bottom of the gusseted tongue, runs to the top, and is attached to this forefoot lid of the shoe, which I guess in this kind of design would mean you can pull this tag and it pulls the tongue. So if you could slide your foot in this way, for me that doesn't make sense. I guess it's good to like realign everything once you've like, you know, expanded the shoe, you put your foot in, you kind of adjust the sides of it, and then you can pull the tongue to straighten everything out. That makes more sense, but still, I think it's just extra material that doesn't feel necessary. And I feel like I've seen this in a different shoe where it was bothering me, and I can't think of it right now. It'll probably come back to me later. Maybe it was a Hoka shoe of some sort. I don't remember, but this is just kind of, above all else, it's unnecessary. Is it helpful? I don't know. Other things that are different is we got like that stretchy pull cord material being used as the bottom area of the shoelaces for this shoe. Again, kind of indifferent to the use of this material. I don't understand its purpose quite yet, whether it's to prevent the shoe from getting too tight in this toe box area, as it happened in the Novablast 4, which for me wasn't a big deal because the toe box was spacious enough. But that might be what's kind of going on in the forefoot area of the shoelace of this particular shoe box, right? And again, just like its predecessor, I think the toe box is spacious. It's great. It's not crushing my big toe, which still has, you know, some remnants of subungular hematoma from smashing a toe box of the Alpha Fly 3s that I have during a race. So having that space is great. It doesn't irritate the toe in any sort of way. It doesn't break that toenail. Great. In terms of the shoe, I guess like the ankle area and the collar and the lip of the shoe, lots of plush. I love it. It's great. Keeps the things comfortable. Will keep your daily runs just excellent. The only downside to that is that you'll have to tie the shoe down every so often to figure out what level of support you really need from it. Because if you have a lot of plush and you push against it, you can keep pushing, and that's fine. But at some point you might loosen your foot based on how much plush you've got, and then after that you might have some you know, heel slip. Not in this particular shoe, but in general, that's just something that can happen. And yeah, you just kind of want to avoid that. So what's going to happen as you run in the shoe more often than not is you're going to keep tightening this thing more and more and more as you keep on going until this toe box area gets real tight, and then this frontal area is probably going to prevent it from getting that tight. Or that's the theory, I'm guessing, right? But above all else, if we talk about performance, it's pretty much exactly what you would expect from a Novablast family shoe. It's just the comfort is great, the ride is great. There's nothing about the shoe that's giving me, well, this is going to make me sound like a, you know, a Nashville baddie, right? There's nothing that gives me the ick about this shoe at this time in terms of its performance, right? What's happening, what I think is good, is that you can take it from above, you know, your recovery pace to your easy run pace, and probably up to and just maybe a smidgen above your tempo run pace if you can handle it with this particular shoe, right? But that being said, it's doing exactly what I'm expecting it to do in my lineup. It's supposed to be a good successor to the Novablast 4 so far. Again, there's one con I'll discuss here, and it's just a personal con, whatever. But yeah, in terms of its performance and ride, I think the new foam might have a little bit less weight, and as a result, the entirety of the shoe weighs a little bit less. That might be what's occurring. And then these extra materials here, just because the foam weighs less, may offset how much, like, you know, this thin piece of like cloth on the shoe is really adding, or how much this lace is adding. It's like these are just like micro features to the shoe at that point. But I think the foam compound is so far is good, right? And we got that, you know, that trampoline area of the shoe, which we're going to watch very closely, as you can see with the ride of the shoe. The interior side, not too bad in terms of wear at this time. You can see I have some dark patches here from the treadmill, so I am hitting it kind of in the middle area of the shoe, which is, you want to strike that trampoline point. As you can see, it kind of has those trenches across the shoe, which I've described with the Novablast 4. In terms of getting like debris, like rocks and things stuck here, that was my original concern. I think the trenches are a smidgen wider and maybe not as deep as they were in the Novablast 4, so I don't think that debris will get stuck nearly as much. Probably same in the heel area. This gap is just too big. Like, maybe if you're like trail running and you step on like a wood chip or something and just like jams itself in the shoe, that might happen. Like, maybe, but again, this is a road running shoe. If you're trail running, you're probably not trail running in this. That's just my guess. I'm not like a genius when it comes to what people prefer running the trails with. I just know what kind of works on the roads, right? So the only con I have with it, which I'm still kind of thinking about, and you guys can let me know in the comments below how it is. Like, I don't know if I'm in love with the color of the shoe that I bought quite yet. It was just something different that I wanted to try out, like this more blue kind of teal style versus the like alien green that I had in my Novablast 4s, which I thought were just crazy, and I enjoyed those, but I just don't know if like this color is kind of my color. I know they have like this white variant of the Novablast 4 with like this orange yellow fresh FF Blast Max foam that I might try out, so I don't know how long this one's going to stay in my lineup. Maybe the color will grow on me, but other than that, I know color for some people is like extremely important when it comes to shoes. In fact, I think for some people, it's the first thing that comes to mind. Like for beginner runners, they're like, is the shoe pink? Is the shoe white? I don't know. Like, these are things I'm sure people genuinely consider. For me, I'm just like, Novablast 5, cool. Let's get a unique color to the shoe palette that isn't like black and white, or isn't just black, or isn't just white. Just have some fun with it, you know? So that's kind of where it gets us to this point where I have the teal color, and we'll see if I kind of get to liking it. So overall, I think it's a good successor to the Novablast 4 so far. Let's see how the foam compound lasts in the long run, if it doesn't go flat after 200 or 300 miles. Let's see if the comfort can stay all the way across the shoe, and yeah, lots to explore for this point forward. So that should be my first impressions of this thing. So if you have any questions, comments, thoughts, concerns, agreements, or disagreements with the shoe, let me know in the comments below. Let's talk about it. You know, I respond to things if it's good, if it's not generic. So yeah, I think we'll leave it at that. Thanks again for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one.